But flare up Chabad, right? When you enter the land. Now Daniel asks right off the bat, why is it not Tavo? If you look in the Hebrew, the first words are Haya Tavo, will be when you enter. So many people do reference the Parshat as Tavo, when you enter, but if you want one word name of the Parshat, it will be Tavo, entering the land. And what happened when we enter the land? So it says, you'll enter the land that God is giving you, and you will take possession of it, and then divide it amongst yourselves and settle it. So this mitzvah is not only once you enter the land. It took 7 years to conquer the land. It took another 7 years to divide the land and settle it. Now there's a special mitzvah, the mitzvah of Bikurim, the mitzvah of giving the first fruit. What's the story of the Bikurim for these first fruit? I'll speak about it a bit more later, but in short, a farmer would go down, with his orchard, his vineyard, it's where his trees are growing. Those the fruits that Israel is famous for and well known for, which are grapes, olives, dates, figs, and pomegranates. Perfect. Those 5 fruits, you would see the first buds, the first fruits growing. You would take a red string, you tie it around it as a marker, and then when it would be fully grown, you would take those first fruits and take them off the tree and bring them in a basket, bring them up to Jerusalem to be given to the priests as a priestly benefit. Now, it's specifically the first fruit. You wouldn't take, if the first fruit got spoiled or whatever it would be, you wouldn't bring it in the fruit. It's specifically the idea to give the first of the crop, the first fruit to the Kohanim. Now, there was a whole ceremony. There's a whole tractate in Tavo which discusses the lengths that they would go to make a ceremonial pilgrimage out of it. You would go up to Jerusalem, starting from Shavuot, because that was where the fruit would ripen in the summer, and they would bring it up to the Temple Mount, and it would sort of be like everyone from all the little towns and the little communities would meet up and become a whole entourage, a whole pilgrimage up to Jerusalem with this fruit. Now, if you look at verse 3, it says you would approach the priest who's then, and you would tell him that you're not going to be ungrateful. You're going to actually need to thank God, and you're going to bring God to God, and then by extension, give it to the priests, the first fruits of the land. And they will do like a waving ceremony. They'll stand by the altar and they'll wave the fruits up and down in the basket, up and down, different directions. Similar to what we do, let's say, with the lulav, where we move it in different directions, wave in different directions. And you would put it down by the altar, and would be then taken by the Kohanim, by the priests, and eaten throughout the city of Jerusalem. Then you would do a recital where you would pronounce a declaration before God, saying, to verse 5, and Aramean wants to destroy my grandfather, my forefather, that Lavan, who was from Aram, which is modern day Syria, modern day Iraq, wanted to destroy Yaakov, wanted to destroy his son-in-law, which is our grandfather, and God saved him from him. And then we went down to Egypt, and we lived in Egypt, and we started off obviously only with 70 people. We ended up becoming a mighty nation after 210 years. And if you read the text there, you might be familiar with it, because we actually say in the Pesach and the Passover Haggadah, we say this text of the declaration that was said by the time of the waving of the fruit. I'm talking about God took us out of Egypt, and now we're saying, I'm being grateful, I'm bringing to God the first fruits. Sure. No, this is on top of the maser. It's also not a very large amount. It's a few fruit. If you don't grow crops, if you didn't grow these crops, fruit these fruits, you wouldn't bring. You wouldn't bring if you didn't know land, you wouldn't bring. If you're only renting, it's a whole discussion at the Talmud. If you're only leasing the land, you bring enough, because you're saying the land which God has given me. Well, if I'm leasing it, it's not given to me, right?
What do the rest of the people for example, don't do agriculture?
They don't have this mitzvah. They don't have this mitzvah. Yeah. Like similar to as we said in other weeks, if you're not the king, you don't have the mitzvah of the king, right? If you're not the Kohen, you don't have the mitzvah of the Kohen. Maybe some people would want to, if they want to get this mitzvah, they might go buy themselves a little orchard there's the mitzvah of Shemitah, mitzvah of leaving the land fallow in the 7th year. There's this concept that you could buy a little piece of land in Israel just so that you could do that mitzvah, because then you allow it to lie fallow. But that's a whole discussion in halacha and Jewish law. If you have to bring yourself into a situation in order to do a mitzvah, to wear tzitzit, you only need to put tzitzit on a four-corner garment. Now, if you're not wearing any four-corner garment, you don't have to wear tzitzit. We specifically, for prayer and some people wear all day, we specifically wear a four-corner garment in order to do the mitzvah, right? It doesn't apply to you. You're not wearing a four-corner garment. So in many, many mitzvahs, do you have to put yourself into the situation where you'll be obligated to the mitzvah, right? That's it. So it's a discussion for itself, but the baseline is like this: there's time-bound mitzvahs, which are bound by day or by night or specific time of year. We're not obligated to that. Very simply because their time system works differently in their biological nature. And it's more complex than on one hand, but many times that if you would start forcing or start saying you have to pray 3 times a day at these specific times, they don't always have that option for multitude of reasons. Much less today, it sounds different because today in this world everyone shares most responsibilities equally, or not even equally, but many of the responsibilities. So it's very different to Saturday. But by, so to speak, default biological nature, many things are, as my wife always tells me, she's very happy she doesn't have to be running out to the milk at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But that's where the delineation will be. Is it time-bound mitzvah or is it not time-bound mitzvah? Many of the time-bound mitzvahs, women took upon themselves, let's say, the shofar, lulav, the shaking lulav, because also they're, I guess, also not as difficult, so to speak, to accomplish, to fulfill. And it's a good question about why it's it now.
Also, can women blow shofar?
Women take upon themselves to hear shofar. They could also blow, they could blow for themselves also. And any person can blow for themselves if they want. They don't.
Oh.
So where
Lynch said the small one's actually the
more difficult.
more difficult.
The smallest kosher shofar has to fit out on either side of the hand. That way it's not as if you're blowing with your hand.
Right. But the large ones are more for show. The small ones.
My grandfather has from my great grandfather, who was a De Niro. De Niro was a boat there were German refugees, German and Austrian refugees, Jewish refugees who were in England came in 1936, 37, 38. When the war broke out, the English decided that they were possibly spies. Why were the Jewish Germans? So they took these Germans and Italians and Austrians and they sent them to Canada and to Australia on prisoner ships. The one that came to Australia was called the De Niro. So there's a whole story for itself. But for a few years, my great grandfather and his brother, one of them, they were interned in Tatura, Victoria, in a prison camp, in a labor camp in the country. My grandfather crafted for himself at that time a shofar. It's this big. My grandfather's. My grandfather has it from him. It's about this big. I mean, I have a goat's horn, and it's very difficult to blow. It's very, very difficult to blow. But he made it for himself in the camp. He had a shofar. He has crazy stories. He wrote my brother from memory. Wow! And they made copies. And in the Jewish Museum, they have a copy of his handwritten my brother from memory. But this is what they were doing at the time. But when I talk about these attacks, the Maser, we spoke about in other parshas. But here it says that there's a ceremony you do every 3rd year on the day before Pesach. You would basically make a tax declaration. You would basically say, I've paid up all my taxes. I've given the tithe. I've given the teruma to the Kohen. I haven't mistreated any or misused any of the holy or the presents to give to the Kohen. And if you look at the verses, you're basically declaring that you've done everything correctly. And the last verse of that portion is verse 15 on page 415, that we turn to God and say, God, look down favorably upon us from your holy dwelling in heaven and bless your people. So we've done everything. We've done all our parts. We've done everything correctly. We've given the Kohanim. We've given the Levim. We haven't allowed it to become Tameh. We haven't allowed it to become impure. We haven't eaten it while we were on Nen. And when we were on Nen is, unfortunately, someone passes away, is from when the body is buried. It's really called Avelot, which means mourning, which is 7 days of Shiva. But till the body is buried, there's aninut. It's usually a few hours, or it's a period of time where you're actually not meant to do mitzvahs. Because you're in such a state of grief, such a great shock, you don't do mitzvahs, you're not meant to do mitzvahs. Oh, it's but there's this period of time called aninut, and one of the declarations you make is you didn't eat the tithes, you didn't eat maaser, you didn't have any benefit from it during this period, during such a period of mourning, because you're meant to eat them when you're happy. And that's obviously a time when A, you're not able to do mitzvahs, and B, definitely not in a very happy state of mind. Okay. So then we pivot. That was the beginning of the parsha, was the Bikurim, the first fruits, which we'll speak about more later, as well as the declaration of giving the Maaseh, giving the tithes, that saying that I've done everything I have to do, and now God bless us. The parsha pivots to the entry into the land of Israel. And when we go into the land of Israel, we're going to basically make a renewed covenant. We've already made a covenant at Sinai. There's covenant with Avraham. There's covenant with the forefathers. But basically renewing the covenant once we enter the land of Israel. We're reestablishing the Brit covenant between us and God. And this covenant is going to be in a way that it's reciprocal. We're making God as our only God. God will make us his special people. The whole chosenness, the chosen nation comes from this section. And then, besides for the covenant we're making, we're also going to demonstrate it, which was a very interesting procedure to be done when we enter the land of Israel. There's two mountains. The firstly, actually, when you cross the Jordan River, you take 12 boulders and you write on them the whole Torah in all 70 languages. We spoke about it in Parshat a few weeks ago. The idea that we should translate the Torah into all the general languages of the time, all 70 languages. But here you would actually write down on stones, they would plaster these stones, and you write down the Torah in all languages, and they were basically put there as like a physical marker showing that there is the commitment of the Jewish people to the Torah.
Where is it in modern day?
Across the Jordan, I think a few years ago, archaeologists tried to find it. They said they found it. I don't know, but what they did more recently find is the next piece. The next thing is there was two mountains. It was the mountain of Gerizim and the mountain of Ebal, which are both today near Shechem, in Samaria and Shomron in Israel. And these two mountains, one was going to be the mountain of the blessing, and one was going to be the mountain of the curses. So it's basically two mountains, and there's a valley in between. And 6 of the tribes would stand on one of the mountains, 6 of the tribes on the other, and the Levim also the mountains, the Kohen and the priests would be in the center, and they would pronounce a list of curses and blessings that we're about to say. So you can see here, verse 12, 13, 14, it talks in 15, it talks about which tribes on which side. There's Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, and Joseph and Benjamin on one side, on the mountain of the blessings. Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zul, and Dan, Naphtali, the mountain of the curses. Now, obviously, we're not cursing or blessing any of the tribes individually. We're not saying this tribe is cursed, this tribe is blessed. Of course not. But they would stand on the mountain. And the list of curses are quite interesting. Look at verse 15. It's on page 1216. Cursed be the man who makes any sculpted or molten image, which is an abomination of God, and sets it up in secret. So these are not new mitzvahs. These are really repeating other mitzvahs, but we're giving specific blessings and curses. And you can read through. There's a curse against deception, oppression, incest, bestiality, bribery, and what were the blessings? The blessings were the opposite. Bless the person who doesn't do those things. And everyone will answer Amen. That's the ceremony. That's what happened in the book of Yeshua, in the end of the land. And recently, I don't know, archaeologists have discovered that there's some sort of altar, some sort of mizbeach, which fits the description there.
These tribes were on the blessings mountain, and the other ones were on the curse.
So
yeah.
The Torah clearly says which ones are on which.
Was there something with the tribes that were on the cursed mountain?
So connect each curse with something which happened with each tribe. But interestingly, according to Rashi, he says there's actually 11 curses there. So 11 curses match up with 11 tribes. and each one have some sort of correlation. The 12th tribe is the tribe of Shimon. Why didn't they have a curse which matches up to them? Because Moshe wasn't planning on blessing them before he passes away. At the very end of the Torah, Moshe blesses each of the tribes. We read on some Torah and Shul. Moshe wasn't planning on blessing the tribe of Shimon, because if you remember, the tribe of Shimon is what caused, back in Parshat Pinchas, they caused that whole situation with the Midianite women, and with the whole story is sort of Pinchas entering the tent. So since Moshe wasn't going to bless them before he passes away, he doesn't want to curse them now either. He's not going to curse them, which is corresponding to that tribe, if he's not going to get a blessing. So Rashi points out. And now, on the topic of curses, we go into the Moshe's blessing and curses. Now, back in Parshat Bechukotai, which we read right before Shavuos, there was a description of blessings if we follow the Torah and curses if we don't follow. And we said, unfortunately, throughout Jewish history, all those curses have come to fruition. Now, right before Moshe takes the people into the land of Israel, there is a whole another list of curses, blessings and curses. The blessings are beautiful blessings, and the curses, unfortunately, are quite horrendous. And unfortunately, we've suffered all of them throughout our history. But I just want to, before we look at the individual curses, I just wanted to point out the general idea of why we read it this time of year. It says that there's an idea that Titla Hashana V'Kilu Leisa, the year and its curses should end, and then the year with its new blessings should begin. So we're about to have Rosh Hashanah, 2.5 weeks away, almost just under 3 weeks to the new year, and anything negative we've had this year, that's it. No more. We shouldn't have any more negative, and the new year should begin with its blessings. There's a story told that Rabbi Doiber, who was the second Chabad Rebbe, the son of the Alter Rebbe, son of Rabbi Shneizan, he one time, the way it worked was his father, the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneizan, was the Torah reader in his show. One time he wasn't there for this Parsha, and someone else read the Torah. And his son fainted when he heard the curses. If you read them, they're quite terrible. Fainted. He was so unwell to the point that a few weeks later, Yom Kippur, there was a question if he should be able to fast. The doctors were arguing about if he's well enough to fast. So it was really quite a serious, illness. So they asked him what happened. So he said, "I was listening to the curses, and they're so terrible. I couldn't handle it." They told him, "But you hear them every year. Like, what this year did you get all worked up about it?" So he said, the way he said it was, when my father reads, I only hear blessings. Or when my father reads, I only don't hear any curses. Now, it's 2 points. Firstly, it's when my father reads, meaning his father had put in all the intent and all the deeper meaning that although they look like curses, really, curses in the Torah are actually blessings in disguise, or more than that, they're such high blessings that we can't express them in regular blessing terms, and therefore when they come down to this world, they're expressed in negative terms. Unfortunately, if we deserve it, we also get them as literal curses. But what they could be and what they are in a true meaning are very, very exalted blessings. So you're saying when my father reads it, I don't hear curses, I only hear blessings. But there's another point that when a father, which father? When God reads the Torah, when God's telling us the Torah, there's no curses. Although it might seem negative, and we'll complain to God for anything terrible which happens to any of our brethren, any Jewish people say to God, it's not fair, it's not all right. And we saw Moshe did it, and we saw Avram did it, and this is classic Jewish behavior to tell God this is not okay. But when a father reads, and from his perspective, there's no curses. And even things which might look terrible and negative, and we can't understand, and again, we're going to argue back. We're going to say to God, this is not okay. From God's perspective, there's obviously something positive and good coming out of it. It's hard for us sometimes to handle that because what we see is negative. That's why in our prayers on Rosh Hashanah and Kippur we say to open up a tzorcha tov lanu tiftach, which literally means your good treasure houses open up for us. So the way you're meant to read is you read tzorcha tov lanu tiftach. Your treasure houses, the ones that are good for us, in our good, in our perspective of good, the way we see things as good, that's what you should open for us. Don't give us your type of good. God, your type of good is all good and fine, but we want the good that we appreciate, as good that we understand, as good and we see as good. That's the good that we want open for us on this coming year. So, and throughout Hasidic perspective, Hasidic teachings, you'll find many ways the verse is interpreted for as good blessings, as positive things. When that's
Well, like lots of children, like we don't understand much, so and
but we're still asking God to do it in our language, do it in what we understand. What we understand good, that's the type of good we want. We don't. It might be greater and deeper and more lofty good, which is in God's
Use
good.
the word lofty.
But we want tangible, physical, apparent good. We don't want good. This type of good is too much for us. We want the, especially in the rave Tavo. It's too good for us. That's too good.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah, 100 years.
It's 100 years. A few ideas. Well, I guess it came into the Hasidic lexicon a few hundred years ago.
Yeah. Big Yiddish song.
That's what happens when you take one, right? And you can read through the verses, the curses. They're quite scary. And the 98 of them.
How many blessings are there?
No, 20, something like that.
A good one.
All of them, the whole 98 are big. But they're quite.
When you read them, do you read them in a number?
Oh, very good. As in shul, when we read them quietly. We read them in undertone. They're not read loud. They're not read. And also, we don't call anyone up for that aliyah. Just the one who's reading. The one who's reading just makes the blessing that does aliyah himself. We don't call someone up. We're not calling them up. If you look at verse 45, since you did not serve God, your God, with joy and heart for gladness, when you had abundance of everything, that's why all these curses came upon you.
But they want cousins.
So the Arizal, who was the Arizal, who was one of the people who popularized Kabbalah, and he's one of the greatest Kabbalists in all time. He said that this is the crux of the story. Because we don't serve God with joy and happiness during good times, then all the negative comes to us. If you would serve God, you can do a mitzvah because you have to, because you're forced to do a mitzvah, because I'm told to do a mitzvah, or whatever. I listen, I do the mitzvah. And then you can do a mitzvah because you enjoy it, because you're happy, and that's a very different type of mitzvah. You can give charity, and because I have to give charity. I'm doing the right thing, I'll give charity. Well, then you could, with a full enthusiasm, give charity. So that's just a very different mitzvah. This mitzvah is a dark mitzvah. This one's a light mitzvah. This one expresses much greater things.
It's just one by my favorite.
Want to read that one?
That's quite good.
It's the answer.
It's similar to the other one, it's like that,
The war one is what the war one's appropriate about not cowering. The one on war is appropriate.
you want to raise your children.
No, but there's a positive thing about not cowering in war.
Parshat finishes off that Moshe is telling them that it's been 40 years. Till today, you haven't really got it. Moshe's been teaching them for 40 years, traveling in the desert, bringing them on, bringing them water, finding the enemies, bringing the word of God, dealing with like fetching. 40 years. Moshe says, finally today, after 40 years, you got, if you want to see verse 4, verse 3. Until this day, God did not give you a heart to know, eyes to see, and ears to hear. How I led you through the desert for 40 years, your garments did not wear out, nor did your shoes wear out through your feet. You didn't eat bread or drink new wine or old wine because you had none, in order that you should know that I am God your God. So, but the Tavo learns out from here that a student doesn't really understand the teacher till 40 years. Till 40 years of thinking about it or dwelling an idea, 40 years later, you can really appreciate the depth of what the true teacher teaches you. In 1990, which was 40 years from the Rebbe became Rebbe, the Rebbe started saying that now you can fully understand what he was talking about the previous Rebbe, obviously, was saying, because given 40 years to really understand it, and now we can move to a new stage. To the point that the Rebbe started saying in his speeches, he started saying, as was spoken about in previous gatherings, and then they would say a slight innovation. They didn't give the whole question answer build up thing. Just like 40 years in, you should somewhere in the last 40 years he's talking about. Now we're ready to go to a new level, to a new plane. We're not getting stuck in the old. But and from here also Tom learns to learn things 40 times. They can't just I don't know, nowadays if we learn something the second or the third time, we're already getting bored. I learned this already, but now once upon a time they used to learn it many times.
That's similar to that. You shouldn't really study Kabbalah until
It comes out that also connects to that because that says in Zohar.
The Zohar.
So to 40.
Yeah.
Is it like out of the blessings and curses, what is the best blessing and the worst curse? Is there any gradation? I know that
There are. I think one of the worst curses is verse 66. Look at verse 66.
your life will hang.
So page 1226, yeah.
So,
Your life will hang in suspense before you. You will be afraid night and day. You will not believe in the reliability of your own life. Many of the other curses are very like,
So you're up there.
many of the other curses are specific items. Right? They're terrible things, but very specific. They're gonna take your fruit of your livestock, they're gonna take the fruit of your soil, destroy through starvation, they're not gonna leave any grain, wine, oil, offspring. Very specific. Here, your whole life will hang in suspense. I think most people can agree that not knowing what you're gonna do tomorrow or today is something which erodes any sense of security, any sense of permanence. It's just your whole life is upside down. You do not have any. If you knew that, okay, I'm gonna have to suffer through whatever's happening, and then in 6 months from now, things will turn around, right? One of the roles we have to do as rabbis is go fundraising. Some people tell you, I'd love to help you, Rabbi, but because of this new tax law, because of this new thing, I don't know. I project. I don't know. Or the fact that I don't have stability. So from the lack of stability, the suspense of it in itself is already erodes any sense of security. I don't know. That's definitely one of the ones I've seen to be one of the worst.
Terrible curse.
Also, I think in general, the curses which are in your head, the fact that you're gonna tremble from the sound of a fluttering leaf, or any of the curses which are in your psychological, take effect in the psychological state, are worse than the physical. The physical person.
You can turn 64 into a very big blessing. And he said, we'll scatter you amongst all the nations from one earth to the other.
Yeah. So,
And here we are at the end of the earth. And it's a blessing to live here.
correct. It is. The Talmud says that God did us a favor by spreading us all over the world. Instead of exiling us all, imagine we had to do an exile in each country. All the Jewish people are exiled in each country. Not how long we've been exiled for. Instead, God stuck one of us, he sent to Spain, one of us sent to Australia, one of us sent to Russia, we're all over, we're taking care of a lot more of the exiles in one shot. That's the Talmud actually based on that. My father likes to quote that from the Tzemach Tzedek, from the third Rebbe, that if he had a chassid, he had a student who wanted to move to Israel, and the Rebbe told him, he had to stay where was Russia, or Belarus, where he was living, make your place into Israel, make your place in the Holy Land. Which is our role, as long as we're not in the Holy Land, as long as Mashiach hasn't come. Many people obviously their places in the Holy Land, but as long as we are here, we have to be making our place into the Holy Land. We have to be spreading light, goodness, positivity in our place, elevating where we live, people around us, people we interact with, into the Holy Land. We have to make this place into Israel. The connection to this idea, yes. When we're exiled, it's not just. Yes, it's a punishment. We're not in the Holy Land, but also we're elevating the places we live. And in a physical sense, we contributed to many of the society, to all the societies that we lived in. And in a spiritual sense, we're here to have this positive spiritual impact, as anyone who was by for all humankind could relate to.
The red thread, the people that follow Kabbalah, they wear the red thread as if they're the new fruit.
Some legitimate sort of the red thread. I don't know if every time you're gonna buy the red thread and the holy water and whatever else they're gonna be selling you, whatever other things. I don't know if that's that. But you know the story they say, the Chelm story.
I'm from my people are from Kelm.
Oh, maybe. Chelm is the mythical Jew. It's a real city, but in all the Jewish folklore, all the stories, they're very, very smart people. Very, very smart. So the story is that there was a Moshe from Chelm that he was very worried that when he goes to the bathhouse, when he's at home, he knows, or when he's in the street, he knows. This is him. This is Moshe, because he's wearing Moshe's clothing, he's wearing Moshe's suit and Moshe's thing. He knows he's Moshe. When he goes to the bathhouse, I'm mixed up. Maybe he's not. Maybe someone else is Moshe. He's Moshe. Doesn't know who he is. So his wife figures out. We'll tie a red string around the big toe. He'll always know that you're Moshe. The day comes, he goes to the bathhouse, and he comes out. He doesn't get dressed, and he realizes he doesn't have the string on his toe, and he sees that on someone else's toe, the string is obviously traveled to him. So he goes over to him and says, "I know you're Moshe, but who am I?" That's the story. That's the story of the mystery. It's a very deep. It's a joke, but it's a very deep story. Also, a lot of times we define ourselves by outside things, external factors, and then you guys, if you don't have those, then who am I? Then who's the true you? The first fruits are 2 points. Firstly, if you look at verse 5, we don't give a whole Jewish history. When we do the calling out of the first fruit, we don't tell you everything that's ever happened to us. You know? We don't give a whole drasha. This is every single thing which happened to the Jewish people ever. No, we bring out 2 points. We bring out Lavan, we bring out Yaakov's father-in-law, Lavan, Rivka's brother, who wanted to attack the family, which was only then a family, 30 people maybe. And God saved us then. And then the other thing we bring out is going down to Egypt. I can understand going down to Egypt, why that's a big part of our history, but why Lavan? Why is the story of Lavan? Well, Esau wanted to destroy us, Yaakov's twin. Esau wanted to destroy us. There were other times, there were other battles, there were other things, there were other difficulties. Why do we mention these two? It's because if you remember, when do we bring the Quran? Specifically, once we've settled the land, after conquering, and after providing it, and after settling, then you start bringing the Quran. Not just straight away when we enter the land. There's other mitzvahs which take effect as soon as you enter the land in Israel. Mitzvah like Bikurim only takes effect once you've settled. The only 2 other places that the Jewish people settled was when Yaakov went to Aram, when Yaakov went to the place of Laban to eventually get married to his 2 daughters and bring up the 11 of the tribes who were born there, because Benjamin was born back in Israel. So Yaakov settled there. And the other time the Jewish people, Yaakov also settled, we settled down in Egypt. When we went down to Egypt, we came to settle in the land. I mean, obviously, if it was temporary, it wasn't forever. We settled it. Until they enslaved us, we lived there quite nicely. So when we're bringing out our gratitude to God, we're saying, now we've settled and we're really settled. The previous times that we moved to a country, we moved to a place, moved to a city, and God had to save us. Now we've settled, and now we can really truthfully thank God for delivering us and giving us the land of Israel. Now, a real strong life lesson you can learn from the whole story of the Quran is that sometimes people think, I have lots of time, or I don't have lots of time. I'll apportion my time as necessary. I need to work, leisure, I need to spend time with my friends, spend time with my family, I need to apportion time for sleep and eating and drinking, whatever it is. And then if there's some leftover time, we'll give it to God. We'll put it into our shul, studying, or whatever it is, or even the 2 minutes takes to speak to God during the day, to pray. The lesson of the Bikurim is that specifically the first fruits. The first fruits are not necessarily the best. Not necessarily. They might not come out to be the nicest of the. You think maybe it should be that you survey the whole orchard, survey the whole vineyard, look for the most luscious, the most dry, beautiful fruit, and that's the one you take. No, specifically the first. What's the idea? That there's a certain special aspect to being the first and not enjoying that for yourself. Imagine how long it would take to get a viable crop. It's from you start with a seed or a sapling. It's not the first year. It's not maybe not even the second year. It might be a few. I've never really that agriculture, but
It's okay, bro.
but
Yeah.
I'm saying I've seen a lemon tree grow on in my parents' backyard. Saying it doesn't take 1 minute. Yeah, it's effort, and especially if you're in a vineyard. One year it's a bad weather. You know, the prices go up, prices go down. It's not necessarily in a second, and it's you put in invested time and effort, and you'll finally be able to appreciate and enjoy your output, enjoy your crops. 1 second, take a second, appreciate that there was God who gave you the land, that He's given you, provided you the ability to earn an honest living. He's given you the time, the patience, the health, the abilities to to till the soil, to grow the crops, to grow the fruits, and recognize that. That should be the first thing. Recognize and be thankful for God. Then enjoy the rest. Don't get me wrong. Have your grapes, sell them, enjoy them. But there's a certain paradigm shift, a certain mindset you put yourself into. The first moment is to set aside for God. It's something special. Might not be the nicest. Give you an example. What do we do? What do we do the first moment we wake up? We say Modani. What's Modani mean? Modani Lefanach. I thank you, God. There's a living King. You return my soul to me. Your trustworthiness is great. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, the first moment of my day is not my best moment. The first moment, you're groggy, you just woke up. The first moment before you get your bearings, you're generally not the clearest of mind, most focused, most conscious. It takes a few minutes to get to yourself. So why are we so specific that this is the moment to thank God for giving back your soul? Why not wait 5 minutes, have a coffee, get yourself cleaned up, get yourself dressed, get yourself properly ready for the day, and then thank God, which we do. We do pray, but there's this idea to have the moidani, the first moment of the day, because there's something the way you start something off, that's how things will progress. If you put this marker in the first moment of your day, the first moment of your week, most moment of your year, you're focused. What's important in life? I could live the rest of my life doing the things which I need to do and I want to do, with having that conscious thought, that conscious feeling. What preempted it? What started the day? What started my week? What started my year? Especially now we're coming to Rosh Hashanah, which is the new year. It's a new year, not because we technically decided we needed a time to, cut off the calendar. Otherwise, the years just go for never ending, right? I should go never ending. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Yeah. It's like Shabbos. There's no difference in the days of the week. There's no. What made days of the week? Who decided the 7 days? God created the world in 6 days. The 7th day, God rested. Rosh Hashanah is also commemorating when God created Adam. God created the world on the 25th day of Elul, which 25th day of Elul of year 0, because it was never Rosh Hashanah yet. And on the 6th day, Rosh Hashanah, which is day 1 of year 1, God created Adam, and that's when we start the new year. And every year since then, the new year. So basically, it's mankind's 5,787th birthday this coming Rosh Hashanah. And there's a certain idea that's what we spend the first 2 days of the year. We're very involved, and also the first month of the year. It's the first month. The same thing. You have to align your expectations and your direction in life. Where you're going. Just take a moment, reflect, pause. Before I'm going to enjoy my whole orchard, before I enjoy my whole vineyard, all my crops, take first fruits, take it up to the temple. Then go ahead, enjoy. But once you've set up what your priorities like, where you driving at, where you're going, it's a very different. The outcome looks very different. The Torah is both specific and general, and specific again. Meaning, the Torah will tell you a specific halacha, a specific law, which is that's the law. It also has many lessons which can be learned out from that, and definitely nowadays when we don't have these mitzvahs, as we spoke 2 weeks ago, last week maybe, last week we don't have those mitzvahs. The lessons we definitely do have.
Possibly because if you give up something before you guarantee to have the rest of your crop, and you're giving it up with no guarantee you're going to have anything else after that, Also, like I said, what you're giving,
even more precious. That's a good lesson.
and now you don't know.
Look at the half there. I didn't really look at it because every time it comes in. It's happy. It's happy, but happy. It's very happy. So let's see what's after.
Because
Now you're done with it. The glory of God is shone on you. It's talking about the messianic age when there will actually be peace in the world for once, and there's going to be this great light that the Jewish people will shine in the world, which is really our goal throughout exile, but then it'll actually be accomplished.
Don't sing this. I think it's one of Zmiro.
Some of the words I've made into the songs for sure.
Maybe or
I went to Pijona Ben last week, and I just the rising and shining of the Yidden in that room. I was just astounded. It was just so beautiful.
Listen, they're lucky because the day I made Mendel's Pidyon Ben
Yeah.
was the single highest worth of silver in the last 50 years.
Well, that's right.
was the value,
I told Mendel, you better be worth it. The Pidyon Ben is the firstborn child that you redeem. So there's a certain amount, it's a weight in silver that you redeem.
And Dafka that day.
So the day that I did the
value of
Mendel
silver.
was the big silver prize, and I don't know.
Yeah.
There was that spike, and then that was the kick there.
well, obviously its value is there's something there.
yeah.
Do we think we're doing this now, rising and shining for Hashem, or we're still
Well,
trying?
it's an abundance. It's our destiny. The question is, we try to do it now as well. Look at like verse 20. Your sun will no longer set, neither will your moon be gathered in. There's a discussion in the Talmud about if in the Messianic age will it be night. Will the night be as light? Because the moon is only a second, only because of the whole story the moon could plane, and if the moon was lessened. Will it be
Need to be or not?
will it be in night?
It's just that there will only be light.
Yeah.
There's no darkness.
In darkness.
So that's what we're talking
In
about.
Jerusalem. Oh my God, that sounds good.
Do you remember Kiddush?
Right.
With your dad,
Yeah.
light and darkness.
If light really exists, you're saying. If darkness really exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, evil will be removed. The spirit of impurity will be removed.
And if darkness is removed as well as evil.